Let me finish, Tori, because this is a significant difference. You know, Senator Obama has said it's a philosophical difference. I think it's a substantive difference. He has a mandate for parents to be sure to insure their children. I agree with that. I just know that if we don't go and require everyone to have health insurance, the health insurance industry will still game the system. Every one of us with insurance will pay the hidden tax of approximately $900 a year to make up for the lack of insurance. And, you know, in one of our earlier debates, John Edwards made a great point. It would be as though Social Security were voluntary. Medicare, one of the great accomplishments of President Johnson, was voluntary. I do not believe that is going to work. So it's not just a philosophical difference. You look at what will work and what will not work. If you do not have a plan that starts out attempting to achieve universal health care, you will be nibbled to death, and we will be back here with more and more people uninsured and rising costs.
We appreciate that you want to make a point, Senator Obama. We have limited time, so I would like Jorge to move on to another subject, or we're going to be out of time.
I understand, but I think that Senator Clinton made she's making a point, and I think I should have the opportunity to respond very briefly, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible.
Very briefly, absolutely.
Number one, understand that when Senator Clinton says a mandate, it's not a mandate on government to provide health insurance. It's a mandate on individuals to purchase it. And Senator Clinton is right. We have to find out what works. Now, Massachusetts has a mandate right now. They have exempted 20% of the uninsured because they've concluded that 20% can't afford it. In some cases, there are people who are paying fines and still can't afford it, so now they're worse off than they were. They don't have health insurance, and they're paying a fine. And in order for you to force people to get health insurance, you've got to have a very harsh, stiff penalty. And Senator Clinton has said that we will go after their wages. Now, this is a substantive difference, but understand that both of us seek to get universal health care. I have a substantive difference with Senator Clinton on how to get there. Okay.
All right.
Wait a minute. No, this is too important. This is the number one issue that people talk to me about. You know, when a mother grabs my arm and says, I can't get the operation my son needs because I don't have health insurance, it is personal for me. And I just fundamentally disagree. You know, Senator Obama's plan has a mandate on parents and a fine if parents do not insure their children.
That's right.
Because he recognizes that unless we have some kind of restriction, we will not get there. He's also said that if people show up at the hospital sick without health insurance, well, maybe at that point you can fine them. We would not have a social compact with Social Security and Medicare if everyone did not have to participate. I want a universal health care plan.
Now that mother who is desperate to get health care for her child will be able to get that health care under my plan. Point number one. Point number two, the reason a mandate for children can be effective is we've got an ability to make affordable health care available to that child right now. There are no excuses. If a parent is not providing health care for that child, it's because the parent's not being responsible under my plan, and those children don't have a choice. But I think that adults are going to be able to see that they can afford it under my plan, they will get it under my plan, and it is true that if it turns out that some are gaming the system, then we can impose potentially some penalties on them for gaming the system. But the notion that somehow I am interested in leaving out 15 million people without health insurance is simply not true.
All right.
Well,
Jorge,
we disagree on that.
Okay, let's let Jorge re-ask his question because I don't think anyone remembers what it was.
Let me try again, and not in Spanish, okay? So here we go again. Because we also believe the war in Iraq is very important. And here's the question. Are you suggesting that Senator Obama is not ready, he doesn't have the experience to be commander-in-chief? That's the question. What did you mean by that phrase?
What I mean is that, you know, for more than 15 years, I've been honored to represent our country in more than 80 countries, to negotiate on matters such as opening borders for refugees during the war in Kosovo, to stand up for women's rights as human rights around the world. I've served on the Senate. I've served on the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I have worked as one of the leaders in the Congress on behalf of Homeland Security and the very difficult challenges we face. Just this week, it's a good example. We had elections in Pakistan. We had a change in government in Cuba, or at least the leadership. We've had the elections that should have happened, that haven't happened, and just changed the leader the way they do in Cuba. We've had Kosovo declaring independence, and we have had our embassy set on fire in Serbia. So we have serious problems that pose a real question about presidential leadership, and also some great opportunities. We now have opportunities, perhaps with Cuba. I hope with President Musharraf for him to do the right thing. I've supported the independence of Kosovo because I think it is imperative that in the heart of Europe we continue to promote independence and democracy. And I would be moving very aggressively to hold the Serbian government responsible with their security forces to protect our embassy. Under international law, they should be doing that. So when you think about everything that is going to happen, what we can predict and what we cannot predict, I believe that I am prepared and ready on day one to be commander-in-chief, to be the president, to turn our economy around, and to begin making a lot of these very difficult decisions that we will inherit from George Bush. And that is what I am putting forth to the voters.
Go ahead, Senator Obama.
I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I was prepared to be commander-in-chief. And my number one job as president will be to keep the American people safe. And I will do whatever is required to accomplish that. And I will not hesitate to act against those that would do America harm. Now, that involves maintaining the strongest military on earth, which means that we are training our troops properly and equipping them properly and putting them on proper rotations. And there are an awful lot of families here in Texas who have been burdened under 2 and 3 and 4 tours because of the poor planning of the current commander-in-chief. And that will end when I'm president. But it also means using our military wisely. And on what I believe was the single most important foreign policy decision of this generation, whether or not to go to war in Iraq, I believe I showed the judgment of a commander-in-chief, and I think that Senator Clinton was wrong in her judgments on that. Now, that has consequences. That has significant consequences because it has diverted attention from Afghanistan, where Al-Qaeda that killed 3,000 Americans are stronger now than at any time since 2001. I heard from an Army captain who was the head of a rifle platoon, supposed to have 39 men in a rifle platoon, ended up being sent to Afghanistan with 24 because 15 of those soldiers had been sent to Iraq. And as a consequence, they didn't have enough ammunition, they didn't have enough Humvees, they were actually capturing Taliban weapons because it was easier to get Taliban weapons than it was for them to get properly equipped by our current commander-in-chief. Now, that's a consequence of bad judgment. And the question is, on the critical issues that we face right now, who's going to show the judgment to lead? And I think that on every critical issue that we've seen in foreign policy over the last several years, going into Iraq, originally, I didn't just oppose it for the sake of opposing it. I said, this is going to distract us from Afghanistan. This is going to fan the flames of anti-American sentiment. This is going to cost us billions of dollars and thousands of lives and overstretch our military. And I was right. On the question of Pakistan, which Senator Clinton just raised, we just had an election there. But I've said very clearly that we have put all our eggs in the Musharraf basket. That was a mistake. We should be going after Al-Qaeda and making sure that Pakistan is serious about hunting down terrorists as well as expanding democracy. And I was right about that. On the issues that have come up that a commander-in-chief is going to have to make decisions on, I have shown the judgment to lead. That is the leadership that I want to show when I'm president of the United States.
All right.